So the principles of partnership have been incredibly important to me since they were started 7 or 8 years ago. Already just in the conversations about needing to have principles of partnership to guide and to strengthen humanitarian reform, because business as usual just wasn't going to make sense anymore. How can we work differently with NGOs and UN agencies and other partners in a way which is transparent and powerful to bring about results on the ground? So being part of that conversation already in 2007, 2008, what actually guides us in a very simple way about partnership was very powerful when I was at OCHA. When I moved to UNICEF a couple of years later and head of humanitarian partnerships for the emergency section, it was even more important to make sure that those principles were woven into everything that we were trying to do, including revising our partnership cooperation agreements. We were able to get it into our internal rules and regulations, not without a fight, but I think even internally for UNICEF, it was important to have that conversation behind closed doors about what we meant by partnership and how we could bring those kinds of approaches into our work with NGOs of all size and in all countries. Since I've joined Sphere, I have it on my wall. I've had them up on my wall every day for the past 7 years. But it's important to think about how we work with each other, how we influence each other, and how we can bring real partnership into the work of humanitarian action. I think one of the most interesting things that I was able to do with the principles of partnership with a number of other colleagues was using the POP in the field to advise and to work with cluster coordinators to see if their clusters were working well. Not just were the functions, at that time there I think were 15 different functions for clusters to be performing. Not are they performing well in terms of their coordination, but are they working in terms of partnership? Working with the NGOs in the northern part of Uganda to see if they felt transparency, equality, results-oriented approaches were being brought into the work of the cluster. We were able to have those conversations and then to help guide, make some corrective actions, and to really reinforce that. But I think only looking at clusters as a coordination function, we're missing something if we don't think about partnership as well. If you think about the 5 principles and which one may be most important, you can't take one in isolation. They all reinforce each other, they all underpin each other, and they help to make a more coherent approach to partnership. I think transparency may be the one that we have the hardest time with in many cases, working sometimes in competitive environments for funding, working in difficult situations where you are looking at access or influence. I think transparency is probably the hardest challenge in many cases, but probably the one principle which makes the most difference when we adhere to it.